Grown Folks Production. In the mix. With the commish, Nate.
Hey, welcome into a frustrating Press Pass Live. This has been absolutely asinine tonight. I could not be more frustrated than I am right this minute because we have been fighting this for over 45 minutes. My internet has kicked the bucket for the last week, and I can't figure out why. And it is just, it doesn't matter. Let's get to the show. Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. You see my buddies here, Mr. Hurt in the live, in the flesh, on the video, owner of the Minnesota Vikings, and Mr. Maniac, the commissioner of the Deuce and owner of your Buffalo Bills. Fellas, how are we doing tonight?
Hello.
Doing good, doing good.
Sweet. We are way behind. Let's jump right into it. I'm still trying to load Madden. I don't know what's going on. I finally got it to where like I'm actually connected to the internet, but the speeds are so slow. It is taking Madden forever to actually load up. So it won't be on the screen, but it don't matter. Let's go ahead and let's do our 2-minute drill and recap some games. Week 11, 12, and 13. Mr. Maniac, give me some games in week number 11. Hurt, jump in there and give me some thoughts as Maniac's breaking down some games. Then we'll go to week 12, week 13, and then what are we betting on for weeks 14, 15, and 16? Maniac, take us away, buddy.
All right, Hurt, get your drink because it's going to be a little bit. So, man, week 11, we had some really good games, man. We had seen the Cowboys play the Giants, big matchup. We saw Bill kind of keep it close for a while, but Dallas prevails 27-13 in that game. The Jets did not take any prisoners in the 41-18 victory over the Packers. The Chargers and the Kansas City game is actually the one I want to talk about, so we'll look at that one, though. The Chargers do get 24-21 victory over KC. The Saints just nearly missed this game. You guys went into overtime, didn't you?
Remind me what game?
Saints versus Bears.
Yeah, went into overtime. He got the ball first, drove down the field, blocked a field goal, had an opportunity, and then I promptly threw an interception, which led to a field goal.
Yeah, I knew it seemed like it went into overtime. I couldn't remember for sure if that was that game, though. But 27-24, hard-fought victory there for the Bears, and no quit in the Saints there. Minnesota demolished the Buccaneers. I don't know if you played the CPU there or not, but 41-25 over Tampa Bay. Cleveland falls to the Buffalo Bills, 31-27. That game was kind of a crazy one, too. One on a walk-off touchdown at the end to seal the victory for the Buffalo Bills. Washington gets a 31-29 victory over Houston. This was a close game. Really good game as well. So, again, like I said, there's a lot of good games. Tennessee 41-37 over Baltimore. Miami just dismantles Jacksonville 39-7. Philadelphia played a close game against the Seahawks there, but fall 31-28. Arizona gets a win over the Rams, 24-15. Denver and the Raiders, man, they always play a really close game. It's usually, though, high scoring. So no defense, but 45-38 victory for the Broncos. 21-17 victory for the Carolina Panthers over Cincinnati, 35-14 victory over the Detroit Lions for the 49ers, and a 38-16 victory for those Steelers against the Colts. Going back to my game, the Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs, are going to look at that a little bit more. Offensive yards, both teams were kind of even. Both of them got over 300 yards in offense this game. The edge would go rushing to the Chargers, 135-96. Both almost neck and neck on the passing yards, 200 over a little 200 for each team. First downs, man, both teams were churning out first downs all game. 21 for the Chargers, 18 for the Chiefs. And then our turnover battle, the Chiefs actually won the turnover battle here. I'm sorry, the Chargers won the turnover battle here. Only the Chiefs gave up the one. Third downs, not a lot of third downs going on, but the edge did go the Chargers there. But a lot of those first downs were coming on the first and second down there. Red zone percentage, 100% for the Chiefs. A lot of times you see that. That usually kind of is an indicator that you'll either win the game or a close game, and it's kind of the way it is right there. But 75% there for the Chargers. And then time of possession was nearly right down the middle with just a little bit of edge going to the Chiefs there. But looking at some of the stats, Justin Herbert, perfect game, basically 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 13 to 20. 65%. Mr. Patty Mahomes, he had a touchdown. He did have an interception, 16 to 23, 69%, but awesome day there, except for that one pick. Rooster Winters, what a name, man. I'm telling you. 13 carries, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. Definitely getting it done in the red zone. Damian Pierce, the guy for the Chargers with 12 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown. And then you see the other guys getting into the mix there, but those guys were definitely the bell cows. Xavier Worthy, man, 6 catches, 131 yards, and no touchdowns, but big factor in that game, keeping the chains moving. Andrew Gardner, the big 6'5" tight end, from Mississippi State with 3 catches for 71 and a touchdown for the Chargers. Rice with 7 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown for the Chiefs. And then McConkey, 4 catches, 42 yards and a touchdown for the Chargers. Moving on over to the defensive side, tackle leaders, the Chargers, Colson with 12 tackles, 2 for a loss and a sack. So he was a busy man there at the middle linebacker for the Chargers. Murphy, the rookie, 10 tackles and a tackle for a loss, but he was definitely active in that game as well. The only sack was there from Colson in that game, and 1 pick by the Chargers, Fulton, with the interception there. He didn't do anything on the return, but man, a close game. Both guys played extremely well, played really good against each other, and again, it's one of those matchups where it's from the AFC West and your own division. Those are usually the ones you like to watch.
Crazy game too. Like, you score 21 points if you're the Chargers in that second quarter. You're taking a 21-7 lead, a commanding 21-point first half, and then you go into the second half and you only score 3 points complete for the rest of the game. Like, the Chargers really stepped it up. Worthy hit a couple of big plays. I got to see this game, and Logan, who has been pretty quiet this season, I think kind of overall dropped a big game. And give it to the Chiefs, man. He follows it up the next week too. I'm sure you'll want to talk about your game with him. He's got a couple of big wins here at the sort of back half of the season.
Yeah, Hurt, do you have anything from that week?
Yeah, I think the one game that I just noticed and I got to catch a little bit of was the Titans and the Ravens game. I was looking forward to this just because Nipple's been having the success that he's had this season, and then the Titans, being the defending champ, was kind of, the 2 heavyweights meeting up here in Week 11. And that game actually, it didn't disappoint. It was a 41-37 game, and just kind of caught the end of it. But there was a lot of offense, and somebody for the way Nipple plays cornerback position, and then knowing Kobe and just being able to do what he does, I was really impressed, or I guess shocked, to see how both teams were in like near or over 500 yards of offense. So we had almost 1,000 yards in this game, and that's just kind of, I don't want to say unheard of for. But both of these guys defensively just don't give up that kind of yards. So it was a fun game to watch, and it just kind of caught my eye then. But it was came right down to the wire, and the Titans pulled it out.
2 defensive coaches put up a 41-37. What's up, Daniel? Game 17-24 in the second quarter alone. I've had games where neither one of us gets 17-24. Me and Bill played to a 14-3 game earlier this season, and 2 defensive coaches gave up 480 yards to the Ravens, 532 for the Titans. Just absolutely crazy. Week number 12, take us away, Maniac.
All right, week number 12, we got the Falcons hosting the Saints, the 31-10 victory for the Falcons. Looked like the Saints just didn't get off the bus on this game.
By far, my most embarrassing game this season.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, and definitely does, and it sucks when it does. But Kansas City beats Buffalo 16-14. Really want to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about my own game though. I will comment here in a little bit though about my game though. I mean, it was really a crazy, great game though. All very defensive, as you can see, 16-14. The Texans. 42-14 over Tennessee. This was a sim game. Okay, I see it 0 played there. So, but that just shows you, Mr. Rogers built a good team. He just got to get it put together. I know he struggles with his own battles in real life. So, but man, he's put a great team together, and they whipped up on the Tennessee Titans, man. The Vikings. Speaking of whipping up, 40-0 over Green Bay. I don't know if this was a CPU game or what, but the Packers
I would like
have.
I would like to own that. That was a user versus user game.
That was a user versus user game. I have to give a little prick here because the Packers have been on a slide since there was the what is it, the ability gate. I guess that's what we.
He ain't won a game since.
Been struggling since then. So, yeah, let's see if those Packers can right the ship. But 40-0 there. That's a big loss.
I think he lost his quarterback. Also, am I wrong about that?
I think you're right. I think he did go down.
It was early in the game. He lost his quarterback. I want to say it was like the first drive or second drive. Rex Manning only had, I think, 2 pass attempts or something like that.
That's tough.
He came out and I think he ran like the first 3 plays were like heavy set run plays, and then like his second series, his quarterback goes down, and that was his heart. That was a tough loss.
That's
for him.
Ball game after that.
Yeah, that's a bummer. The Indianapolis Colts, they're rolling. 33-27 victory over the Bengals. Detroit gets back to their winning ways with a 31-17 victory over the Miami Dolphins. I actually thought about talking about this game, but I'm going to talk about the Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of good games, but this game was also like right there, the one I was going to talk about also. But Philadelphia, 24-21 victory over the Giants. The Giants, I think, lost 2 in a row.
Bill was ready to burn my house down after this game, I'm pretty sure.
I seen the comment in the chat that says F all Madden. So, but he was definitely struggling in this game. So, but got to give it to Philadelphia and Twinkie, man, pulling out a big victory there, 24-21. Pittsburgh defeats the Buccaneers 27-10. The Chargers get a victory over the Las Vegas Raiders, 31-21. The game I'm going to talk about, Arizona Seahawks, San Francisco 20-17 victory over Carolina Panthers. That's a close game as well. Really tight game. Chicago edges out the Jets 27-21 in this game. That's another game that really talk about and look at too as well. New England 44-41 victory over the Broncos. Again, there was no defense in that game. It's all it looked like 6-on-6, I think, pretty much on that game. But and then Dallas flexes muscles, 49-15 victory over Jacksonville, and then Washington with Mr. Trey 42-38 victory over those LA Rams, which. Prayers go out to Crazy B-Man. The game that I did want to talk about, the Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. This game definitely did not disappoint at all. And you can see kind of the score there in the fourth quarter, 11 points for the Seahawks and 7 for the Cardinals. They were making it kind of a dramatic thing there at the end. So offensive yards totally dominated by the Seahawks, 362-205. Rushing yards, 99-118. Pretty similar. But here's the passing yards, though. And this is kind of a stat you didn't expect to see, but only 106 yards passing for the Cardinals, 244 for the Seahawks. First downs 21-11. Everything right now is indicating like the Seahawks should have dominated this game, but the turnovers on both sides were a factor. 3 turnovers for each. Third down conversions, not a whole lot. And but again, you look at the stats and you just think the red zone percentage 60% to the Seahawks to only 25 for the Cardinals. But sometimes those stats can be kind of deceiving. But 22 time of possession to only 13:40. Seahawks dominated, but we'll see that the stats here. White
a
with
little caveat to
yards.
put in real fast before you go through the individual stats. This game was played twice. Like this day was a weird day. It was right after I think we had that like 48-hour, 24-hour, whatever that was, where PSN was down. A lot of disconnects. This one got deep into the third quarter, so really tight, close games. The Hawks were kind of in control. Reset. You know how those resets go, bro. Get the reset.
Yeah.
Totally goes the opposite way. I think that played a little bit of the mind games with the Seahawks.
Yeah, and it does. I think, we've always said that Madden, it is a mind game. Mind game will get into you really quickly there on that situation. Both quarterbacks struggled, though. The 3 interceptions for Henry to White having 2 interceptions here. Both were sacked 3 times. Completion percentage for both guys was under 60%, so they were struggling passing the ball. As you can even see at the quarterback rating, both below 70, just struggling to pass the ball consistently. But the big guy, I think, here was Montel Meadows, 12 carries for 97 yards. He did have 8 yards of carry. I'm kind of jealous, man. I can't get past like 2 yards of carry this season.
Me either.
Walker with 13 for 61 and a touchdown, and then Charbonnet also with a touchdown there with for the Seahawks rushing. Passing, Devin Duvernay. This guy is like the ageless wonder. He comes in 5 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. The big guy, though, for the Seahawks, Tyson, 5 catches, 80 yards. Palmer was the only guy that really kind of made anything happen for the Cardinals there. 3 catches, 59 yards, and a touchdown. He is also a big-bodied receiver, so those guys were getting open, but just were struggling, I guess, with the passing there in that game. Tackle leader, Hazelton, rookie out of Ohio State, middle linebacker. 12 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, no other stats there. Well, he did have a forced fumble as well. So that was a big stat there for that guy, the young rookie. Then the tackle leader, it looked like for the Seahawks was Simpson there. The middle linebacker was 6 and 2 tackles for a loss. The sacks, though, we saw that both sides had 3 sacks. Fielder had 1. Pritchett had 1. Meadows had 1. I guess he's got 2 guys on his team. Meadows, maybe they're brothers from another mother. Murphy also had 1 for the Seahawks there. So you can see like there was like a ton of sacks there for the guys that go around. Witherspoon was the big guy though with interceptions, 2 of them in this game. And then Chris Dyson looked like he had 1 for 89 yards and looked like a touchdown. And also, Max Melton had a touchdown on a pick as well. So that's where he got his scoring there. So the defense chipping in and actually helping the offense in the scoreboard there to get the victory for the Arizona Cardinals. And they win 28-25.
I was given just a second. Big Hurt, you got anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think the one game that stands out to me for week 12, is the Bears and the Jets. The reason I cover this is just because the Jets have been on such a tear offensively, scoring 40-plus points almost every game. And I'll speak to just the Bears in my division. The Bears have given me, like, the biggest trouble this season. Outside of my first 3 games, those are my 2 losses since week 4 have come to the Bears. And defensively, the Bears have such a talented roster, and they've given me just absolute fits. And I've lost 24-15 and 16-7 to the Bears. But I watched part of this game, and since he being such an offensive, just dynamic, like absolute beast in Madden, this season with the Jets and that Earl Lowry, but the Bears bottled them up pretty well, and it came down to like a last play. I think he had like thrown a pick, the Bears dropped it, and then he throws a seam route to Devontae Adams. Devontae catches it, gets hit, and like at the 1 yard line, and basically as he's falling into the end zone, drops it for the game-winning touchdown. It was just it was a really interesting game. Both teams had 3 turnovers, and just, like I said, the Jets being kind of shut down and not being able to score 40-plus points like they're typically known to do. That just kind of speaks to the team that Colin's built. And I think we all think of Colin as just like an air it out, air raid, a high-efficiency passing guy. But quietly, he actually has like a really, really, really good defensively rostered, put together team. And when he puts it all together, like Colin could easily be a threat, the whole way through. I just think it's the consistency thing for him. But he put it together this week for week 12 against the Jets.
This game was happening the same time as your game was happening. I was actually watching a couple of games all at the same time, and poor Cincy was just frustrated by that Bears defense all day long. All right, 2-minute drill for week number 13. 2-minute drill is a pipe dream because we never get through these games in 2 minutes. But take us away, as most games have been played here in week number 13.
Yeah, we got a couple left. Actually, going to be playing Cincy after the Press Pass Live. So, Baltimore 27-20 victory over the Steelers. The Raiders with a 37-16 victory over KC. What happened, KC? Indianapolis 43-18 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars are kind of struggling just a little bit down the stretch here. Atlanta gets a victory, squeaks out a victory over the Green Bay Packers 23-20. The Chicago Bears, the Bears we just talking about, they're kind of getting things rolling. 31-20 victory over the New England Patriots. Minnesota quietly kind of getting into the mix of things here with a 31-29 victory over Carolina Panthers. A low-scoring game here. The Chargers, the battle of the LA area, which I know the one's a CP right now, but a 17-3 victory over the Rams. This is a game we're going to talk about. Saints Seahawks. We'll come back and touch on that one. Denver 31-30 victory over Arizona Cardinals.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Nate's dance over there.
Just excited,
I can't
man. I got 2 wins.
I'm not looking
year.
at the video, but I'm sure he probably gave a little eyebrow raise or something. But
oh no, he had a nice little dance there. You'll have to go back and watch that.
31-28 victory for the Bengals over the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have kind of dropped a few in a row here, leading down the stretch. Tennessee with a big victory, getting back into the swing of things for Tennessee Titans. 27-14 victory over the Eagles, and then Houston with a big victory over the Cleveland Browns, 44-21. That's kind of like one of those that just came out of nowhere. But we're going to talk about this, the New Orleans Saints taking the Seahawks.
Let's go.
I heard some music in the background. Nate's over there pumping the music. Man, big game, though, for the Saints. A 30-21 victory. Both teams putting up 14 points in the fourth quarter. But offensive yards, give it to the Saints. 337 yards on offense. The 239 for the Seahawks. And then 107 rushing yards for the Saints. Only 32 for the Seahawks. I don't know if he just gave up on the run or he couldn't run, but nonetheless.
We didn't hit the minimum, so I will say that.
Oh, okay. 230 passing yards. So definitely was getting it done in the passing attack there for the Saints to 207. First downs, pretty much even down the board there. Turnovers, the Saints won the turnover battle here, only giving up 2 turnovers and then getting 3 turnovers from the Seahawks. Third down conversions, there wasn't a whole lot of third downs in this game. Only one shown conversion in the game, but then there was a fourth down conversion for both teams. But red zone, 66% to the Seahawks, 50 for the Saints. But man, the Saints were definitely on target this game. Won the time of possession. I got sidetracked there. That's the reason why I kind of sound like I was having like a stroke. 21 to 18, or 21 minutes of time of possession to only 14 for the Seahawks. Looking at the player stats, Mark Anthony had a definite solid game here. Doesn't like the 2 picks, but he did have the 2 touchdowns. Was pretty efficient on this game, 11 of 17, 64%. Definitely was on target for most of the game. Was only sacked once. Brad White, 3 touchdowns, but also picked off 3 times and sacked 3 times. And it was 13 to 25 here. The rushing, Weatherspoon, the big man here, and the Big Easy, 17 carries, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Almost a little over 4 yards a carry there for him. So great stats there for him. Kenneth Walker, 7 of 18, 2 yards, just a little over 2 yards, under 3 yards a carry there. Just not getting it done on the ground. Miller also contributing along with Burgess. Definitely getting it done there on the ground for the Saints. Receiving, the big man that makes a lot of big plays. Howell, 4 receptions, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, along with 65. So he was getting the long ball done here. Duvernay, again, showing up in the stats, 6 receptions, 101, 2 touchdowns. So got to represent the Longhorns there. Definitely a good game for him. And Olave also getting it done with 4 receptions, 60 yards. And then Smith, Njigba, also got a touchdown. I think I said that right, so I'm kind of surprised.
You did good.
Anyway, two receptions and a touchdown in this game also. Looking at the defense, this is where the rubber meets the road here. So the tackle leader here for the Seahawks was 9 tackles for Love. And then for the Saints, it looked like it was Morant with 7 tackle loss. Was Mullins, the previous rookie last season for the Saints, and then also 1.5 sacks. So he was kind of making his presence known in this game as well. Murphy got one for the Seahawks. Young got one for the Saints, and Breezy was also getting one in the mix as well there for the Saints. Interception leaders, Calhoun with an interception, middle linebacker for the Saints. Witherspoon had one for the Seahawks. Pritchett, Mr. Kool-Aid, almost tried to trade for this guy, and I told Nate, no thank you, but I kind of wish I would have picked him up maybe now. So Howden also had an interception. I'm sure that was probably a user pick because Mr. Nate is a great safety user. Take it away, guys. Talk about it.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder for this week, but I think the 2 games that I was really excited to kind of watch and tune into, they both have been unplayed. That is the Bills and the Jets, so I'll be excited to watch that here after Press Pass Live. 49ers Cowboys, that's literally like the heavyweight of the NFC. And unfortunately, that game's going to be a sim. So those are the 2 games this week that I kind of was looking at ahead of a couple weeks ago, like looking into Week 13. There are a couple other games, but I really want to touch base on the Saints Seahawks as well. Just a few points that I noticed. One, I pull up the stat sheet and I see that every single advantage arrow pointing to the Saints, which is just complete domination. This was literally the Saints Super Bowl because they beat the regular season champion, the Seahawks. And then I know Nate has like this team that he says is an 84 overall, but quietly he puts a few pieces together in the offseason. This team's like dynamic. And the reason I say that is he's got the quarterback, Weatherspoon. I absolutely love what that dude does at running back and how he produces for the Saints. And then quietly, I know this might be a shock, maybe far stretch, but for me, his receiving core is one of my favorites in the OMFL. Hal, whatever his name is. That dude is an absolute monster, and I hated playing him when I was the Falcons. That dude just like 6'5", fast, just runs every route, physical, catches everything. But then you got Chris Olave, who's kind of another just very difficult receiver to deal with. But then he goes out and signs Trey McBride as a tight end that can really kind of be that Kyle Pitts figure, athletic build, but he's not the high-end new name guy. But so I just like what the Saints have offensively. And then defensively, he's got a really good tandem and pair in the edge rush with the rookie from last year, drawing a blank, Mullins, and then Chase Young. And then he's got even Brian Breezy from Clemson. That's a young guy. I think if things build out for him, like this team, it has a few holes, but if he fills them with this offseason, the Saints could easily flip and make a very solid roster. And I just like what he's got, and it seems he kind of put it all together in this game. So I think that's one game that just kind of stood out, caught my eye. And like I said, I'll be interested to watch the Jets and the Bills. But Nate, I think you kind of found something in this game and took out a very solid user and opponent here in Week 13.
Yeah, it felt good to have my offensive line play half decent. We went back to the 3-4. We're running 3-4 the rest of the cycle. We're just going to embrace it. Real Saints are going back to the 3-4 in real life too. So, yeah, we got some pressure and team played good. Cardinals played a great game against Denver today. They ended up not going for an extra point. I think they ended up going for like a 2-point conversion, didn't get it, and lost that game. Yeah. A lot of really good games. It sucks that we were robbed of that 49ers Cowboys games. Like those two are like, let's just rob everybody from watching that. But what are we betting on? Let's look at weeks 14, 15, and 16. What are some games that are coming that you think will be good bets or good games to watch? Mr. Big Herd, take it away.
Well, there's a couple games that I've kind of looked ahead, and it's easy to sit here and pick the high-end names. Obviously, Niners, Seahawks, and Week 14 is one that I would like to watch. But the Chiefs-Chargers is another one. Obviously, Cowboys-Titans, that could be a potential OMFL Bowl matchup. But the one game that I'm actually really excited to kind of tune into, and these guys probably don't have much from a playoff standpoint to fight for, but I think it'd be fun to see because these guys are going to be battling out for the OMFL for the rest of this cycle. And that's Twinkie and Vikes Bowl, the Eagles and the Commanders. I think it's interesting because Twinkie, he showed that when he beat the Giants and Bill, like he can compete with the top dogs when he puts it all together. But at the same time, now Trey's coming in, and he has been a top dog in the OMFL, and he's got Jalen Daniels, a top quarterback that could be very scary and elite. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of an early matchup. It's late in the season, but an early matchup in this rivalry because Trey's new back into the OMFL. So that's one game for Week 14 that I'm really excited about. And then also the last one I'll throw out there is the Jets and the Broncos. If the Broncos play the way they are capable, like he did against the Cardinals and a few other matchups that we talked about, this could be a big game for the Jets because the Jets just lost to the Bears and they've had a few other games. They could have a big game tonight. Things could shake up there in the AFC East, depending on how that plays out. But it's just a matter of which Broncos team shows up.
49ers Hawks, that's a game that we've seen go the Seahawks way a couple different times. Seahawks, though, have dropped one to the Saints and the Cardinals lately, so I feel like he's pissed. And then Cowboys Titans, a possible OMFL Bowl, not rematch, no, because I forgot. Bill made it for the NFC last time, but a possible matchup coming up here for the next OMFL Bowl. It might be a good one. Any that we left out here, Mr. Maniac?
I think you can look at the AFC North. They're all matched up this week. Ravens versus the Browns and Bengals versus the Steelers. Anytime you get these guys playing against each other, there's going to be either a very defensive game or fireworks going, and it's usually always very competitive, close. There's hardly ever any blowouts between these four guys when they play each other. So it's always great matchups when you see that as well from that division.
I've had a couple blowouts at work. That's always embarrassing. Week number 15, Big Herd, take it away.
Week 15, I'll throw our game out there right now. I'm Vikings Saints, I think, is going to be a pivotal game for me just because of the playoff race that I'm in, a tight race in the NFC North. And your team obviously is catching some fire and figuring some things out. So that'll be a big game. We also have the Titans Commanders. Again, Trey's just an opponent that I don't think Kobe probably wants to see at the back end in Week 15 if he's in any type of race coming down to seeding purposes. Trey's just, yes, he's got a bad record with the Commanders, but that's a team he took over, and playing someone like Trey, it's just not one that you're like, oh, this is a gimme win. And it's probably a win that Kobe probably had checked off on his schedule earlier this season. Yeah, I got the Commanders, Shiloh struggling, and all of a sudden, boom, here comes Trey. Things completely change. The Bills and the Dolphins, that could be another big one. But the one that I think that really stands out for me, the biggest, is depending on how things play out, week 13, 14 here and 15, things are shaking out and kind of settling a little bit, is the Chiefs and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are putting themselves in the mix of things. The Chiefs have put themselves in the mix of things. And here's a big matchup, week 15. The Chiefs go to Arizona, and both of these guys, when they figure it out, they're right there in the thick of things, and they got a big matchup. And I think this game is pivotal for both teams to get in, because the Cardinals have a fight going on with the Niners and the Hawks, but the Chiefs are also in the mix of the AFC, which is, we talked about on the previous Press Pass Lives, like the Chiefs and the AFC and how deep that is. Plus Logan's over there now in the AFC West. That's a pivotal game for both teams. So I'll be interested to see. That'd probably be the game of the week for week 15 for me. But I'm also throwing our game, the Saints-Vikings, just for myself, because I've got to have that, and I'm now not looking forward to seeing that you've kind of figured some things out.
Seahawks Giants, I think, could be a really fun one. Bills' frustrations are starting to build. Meeks are about to boil over. By the time we get to week 15, no telling which one of those two wants to murder me first, but that could be just a really fun game to go ahead and watch. Ravens Bengals has some potential to be a lot of fun. Cowboys Browns, those are two guys that have faced off before in the past. Two top owners here, also could be a really good game. Anything else you're watching for, Mr. Maniac?
I think the one that kind of caught my eye was the Chiefs Cardinals. Not only the simple fact that it's pivotal for both these guys in their races that they're in, but they're both Chiefs fans, so they'll be facing off against each other. So it's always being on the opposite end of when I played Dwayne, my favorite team being the Cowboys. It does kind of feel a little, funny, playing against your favorite team, but you get over it when the competitive juices start going. But I think it'll be a good matchup, because I know Joker's always saying that he wants the Chiefs. He's trying to get him to switch to the Chiefs or whatever. But both these guys are really good guys.
Never gonna happen. What are we betting on week number 16, Mr. Hurt?
One thing I will say is, Nate, you might want to avoid watching that Hawks-Giants game, because I feel like something like maybe The Ring, if you've ever seen the movie where the girl comes out of the TV, whatever happens in that game, one of these owners might come through the TV to attack you or something. So I would avoid that game at all costs. But turning to week 16, there's a couple. I think an old school throwback game for me that's just two heavyweights would be Penguins and Cincy. The Steelers at the Jets. Again, Cincy's coming down to try and make his bid for seeding in the AFC. And we all know what Penguins is capable of, and that's just kind of two heavyweights. Again, Joker playing the Niners. So, how that's going to play out. Another big one is was the Buddy Bowl, Lil Koch and the Browns. This is just a fun game every single time. It's 2 times a year, but you know that these two guys know each other better than probably any two owners in this league, and it's just both of them have had their success, their moments, and so it's just always a fun game to watch. So that would be probably my couple games that I would spotlight for week 16.
I'm putting some money on that Vikings-Colts game. The two teams that are starting to figure it out this season, starting to turn the corner, and that's just going to be a fun game. And then sneaky good, a rematch of a couple of NFC championship games. Trey versus Wayne with the Commanders versus the Cowboys on the road in Dallas. That just might be a really fun old-time matchup between two guys who have had some pretty epic battles back in the day. Maniac, anything you're betting on in week number 16?
I'm betting
on to beat Priest. I hope that.
Set some interception records now. No, I'm betting on the Dolphins and the Patriots. There's probably going to be much defense in that game. Every time we see these two guys face off, there's fireworks. It's usually 40 burgers, 50 burgers on the scoreboard. So I'm kind of looking at that one being a high scoring game. So I put my money on that one being the over.
Should be a really good one. Well, let's turn it over to Mr. Denbrew really quick for some OMFL news, and then we're going to look at a little contender pretender before opening up the mailbag. And let's see if we can get through this before 1 a.m. That would be really nice since I got to start it late. Mr. Denbrew, will you please just take us away?
Welcome back to the OMFL news. I'm sitting in my truck here, freezing. It is 24 degrees currently right now. Hoping this thing warms up pretty quick. But we are in week 13 of season 113 in the OMFL. I am Denbrew. This is your news. And we are talking turnovers today. So if you turn it over a bunch like I do, I'm not going to kick you while you're down, so you're not going to be a part of this. We're going to focus on two teams that do a really good job of not turning it over. And the first one is the Dallas Cowboys. They don't turn it over. They do not turn it over. Dak Prescott only has 2 interceptions on the season, and he's thrown 19 touchdowns. So a 19-2 touchdown to interception ratio, that equals really good football. That equals a lot of wins and a lot of success. And a fun fact here, Dallas has actually fumbled more times as a team than they have thrown interceptions. He's fumbled the ball 3 times and thrown 2 interceptions. So he's got a nice turnover differential. He's sitting at plus 20. So that's crazy. What else do I got here? The Baltimore Ravens was the other team I wanted to focus on. Now, they've thrown 10 interceptions on the year. 0 times have they fumbled. So they've got a total of 10 turnovers on a year, which is less than a turnover a game. That's crazy. And he's forced an unbelievable 41 turnovers through 11 games.
Yeah.
So that's like 3.5, 7-ish turnovers a game that the Ravens are getting. So for every turnover you get against the Ravens, he's getting 3 or 4 against you. That'll win you a hell of a lot of football games when you do that. So hats off to the Baltimore Ravens. Hats off to Nips. What else we got? Oh, some other standouts that do some really good stuff as far as turnover differential. The Bills, the Jets, the Niners, the Steelers, the Chargers. They all do a great job of getting turnovers and not turning the ball over, protecting the football. Really good job by all those teams that I just mentioned, but also, man, the Ravens and Cowboys, just exceptional. Nice work, fellas. That's all I got. Back to Press Pass Live and Nate, and just a quick update. I'm getting some hot air blowing out of here.
What an update right there from our buddy, Mr. Denver. Appreciate him doing the OMFL news. All right, we're not going to do all the mailbag questions because it went from like 3 questions to 30. I don't know where all these questions came from this afternoon, but I do appreciate them.
People got bored.
We'll wait on a couple of them. But let's go ahead and do some quick contender pretender. Now, it's still early. A lot of teams technically still in it. Matter of fact, last update from Bill, who does such an awesome job with this. Every team was still in it. There was no team mathematically out of it. But currently we have the Ravens at 10-2 in the AFC, Chargers at 9-3, Titans at 9-3, Jets at 8-3, Bills at 7-4, Chiefs at 7-5, Steelers at 7-5, Colts at 7-5. I'll put one more team in there. Browns at 6-6. Everybody after that's like 5-7, 5-8, 3-9. Those 5-win teams. I mean, if you want to throw them in, I'll let you throw them in. Who's a contender? Who's a pretender? I want to get at least 2 of each of those. I'm just going to go ahead and get us started with my first contender. I mean, you got to put the Titans. That's low-hanging fruit. He is your champion. He's got the great team. He started to figure this defense out a little bit. That offense is still rocking and rolling. Now, not a flawless team by any means, but a team that can still win. He is absolutely a contender sitting at 9-3. Not your tippy-top team, but still a contender that I think will get a top seed and will be a pain to have to deal with in the playoffs. Give me another contender for you.
Go ahead, Maniac.
I think a low hanging fruit would be the Ravens. I think they're definitely. I see them and the Titans being in the AFC Championship game and battling out. As long as he doesn't have any cruises in line here is coming up, but man, the Ravens. We just heard Denver talk about the turnover ratio. Just crazy, absolutely crazy. And anytime you do that, you're not giving up points and you're scoring points. As you can see, the point differential there, it's a recipe for success, and he is doing it. So look for them to be there at the end.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there on the head. But I would say for my contender, I want to say you and Cincy were like the names that come to my mind after those two, but you guys are in such a close race. And that game tonight is kind of like, how does it tip? Because if you win, I know you beat them earlier this year, so I'm going to leave that there for right now. Then I'm going to jump over to the AFC West, and I'm going to say Logan and the Chargers is my contender. I know he's kind of hit a little bit of a speed bump and hasn't been as efficient or consistent as he was early on when he switched over and took over this Chargers team. But I think being in the AFC West, he has had such a dominant year, 9-3 record. I think the Chiefs are there, but I think Logan is the one that comes out on top, and so he's my contender to win the AFC West and be in the playoffs.
We got to point out a couple OMFL trophies there in the background with Mr. Big Hurt's full screen there. So showing those pretty boys off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say Chiefs. They are my last contender. Now, listen, I'm not like these two guys, a little lazy picking the 10-win team or the 9-win team at the tippy top of the AFC. But you know what? I'm not going to call them out. I'm taking the Chiefs 7-5. He has been impressive the last few weeks. Just kudos to Sharks fan getting some things figured out here, getting this team playing much, much better. I knew he dropped the game last week, but he's been playing really good football. Worthy's been making some big plays. He needs to get that run game going. He's making some plays on defense, though. Chiefs, they're my contender. Mr. Maniac or Hurt, either one of you, take me away and give me your last contender.
Take me away.
Did he just call us out when he had a 9-win team and the defending champion as his first pick?
But that'll list it third in the AFC, okay?
All right.
I'm sticking with the AFC side right now, and my contender is the Colts. I think Bronco Man has definitely figured some things out, playing a lot better. His defense still a little suspect at times, but he has been putting together some points, and I think the Colts are going to be a contender in this playoff.
We're going to have to get an updated photo here of Skinny Maniac. We've got, lost the weight Maniac up here. Maniac, give me your last contender. Not Maniac, that's me. Hurt. Sorry.
You're good. I think for me, I'm going to stick with the Jets just because they are putting up 40 points. Yeah. I think even if he does lose this game tonight to Maniac, which is very possible with Maniac's success in the first couple seasons, plus his defense, he has the top corner. I think it's Shepard that can kind of negate Lowry a little bit, depending on matchup scenarios and stuff. But I think the Jets find a way to get in the playoffs as a contender. He went and got Devontae Adams to also put him over the top. that offense is just so potent. I just was a little hesitant after seeing the Bears being able to bottle up that offense the way they did, but I'm still going to stick with them. I think the Jets are a contender, and we all know what Cincy's capable of once he gets in. Massimo is a 7 seed, ran the table to the OMFL Bowl. That's another. This is another scenario where I think even if he was a wild card, don't count him out. Like, if he's in, he's got the offense to kind of give anyone fits. So I'm going to say the Jets is my last contender.
All right, we're going pretender. I'm going to go ahead and take it. I'm taking the Colts, and that one hurts. Oh, that doesn't feel good to say because I like Bronco, man. I like what he's building over there. He had a tough deuce loss today. He was pretty frustrated with how that one got away from him late in that one. I was able to watch the very end of it. But there's just something about the Colts that he's figuring it out. He's like a slow burn. But can he hang when we get to the big dogs? Can he hang with the big guys when we get to the playoffs? He's not. He doesn't have that confidence yet. There's a little rattle of the confidence that I want to see him get it back. I want to see a little bit of that bravado back when he was stepping onto the field, just doing whatever he wanted. I think the Colts are going to be a pretender this year. Mr. Maniac, take me away. Give me your first pretender.
My pretender for the AFC, sticking over on the AFC side right now. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna say with I know it's a 5-8 team, but with the way he's been the last couple of seasons, he's been in the mix, and he was in the mix until I think recently dropped 2 games, and it's the Dolphins.
You sure you don't want to take one of these 3-win teams? I mean, they're right there for the taking.
No. But I think, because he always seems to he gets kind of hot late and squeaks into the playoffs or whatever. But I'm going to take him as a pretender. I know he's got 8 losses, but I mean, 2 weeks ago he was right in the mix of things. So, it's just hard when it starts snowballing you to keep going though. He could dash some hopes though for some owners, including myself, as we move on.
Big Hurt.
My first pretender, you're probably going to look at me sideways, but I'm going to give an explanation of why I'm picking this as my pretender, and it is the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason I say that, they are 10-2.
You stole it from me.
If we look at their schedule, you have the Texans, the Eagles, the Bengals, who aren't on top of their game right now, the Colts, who were struggling early on. Then I believe he played the Patriots out without Rusty Starr, the Falcons, the Broncos, the Jags, and then the Panthers, which is the first true playoff team. And now he hits week 10. He loses to the Steelers. He loses to the Titans. And from the rest of the season, he's got the Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals, the Saints, the Browns, and then the Bucks. So really, to close out the year, he's got one game on his schedule that I'm the Bucks have Kevin doesn't seem like he's really motivated. I would say the Saints, but now that you've kind of figured some things out, you're testing some things, that's not going to be a gimme win. And the rest of those games are all playoff teams that are in the mix and could be fighting for a playoff spot. I think we're going to see a different nipples from a win standpoint, and I think the Ravens have done enough work early on to get out to a 9-0 record that's going to get them in the playoff, but I don't think that he is going to be there deep in the AFC playoffs, and so that's why I'm going to say he's a pretender.
You stole mine. I thought for sure, I was going to have a shocker for my last one, but you took it. I'm going Ravens as well. And I sort of approached it slightly different than you. You did more homework than me. I just still think that no matter what his regular season record is, what's he going to do when he gets to the playoffs? Even when we've seen him get his team in the playoffs, he just goes out with a whimper. I don't know what's going on. That dominant, passionate, freaking bravado nipple, hard nipple walking into the playoffs. We ain't seen him in 5 cycles.
Feisty nipple.
Yeah, he drowned in the middle of the ocean somewhere. And this new guy is sort of like more calm nipple, kind of like hidden nipple guy. Like he doesn't have that same bravado in the playoffs. I got to see more from him whenever he gets to the playoffs. And I think you pointed out a lot of issues here. He's also played 7 of his first 12 at home. And so, having some of that home field sauce, when the weather starts getting bad, the speed kind of gets slowed down because you got to go to Buffalo and play in the snow and the wind. You got to, go play in New York and play in the wind and the rain. Like when that starts to happen, how does his team respond? He can still do it. I still wonder about that offense, though. Defense does win in the playoffs. I'll give him that. But he's got a lot more to show me whenever he gets there. Give me your last pretender, Mr. Maniac.
I'm I'm gonna say myself, the Bills, 7-4. Right now my defense is playing pretty well, but my offense, I am struggling on offense, and I think that's just a recipe for being a pretender in the playoffs if I can get there. Definitely got a big up road ahead of me because I've got some big games coming up, so it's going to be an up road battle. But I do think my Bills are pretending, getting older, and we may be looking to rebuild soon.
Maniac must be stopwatching himself tonight. I'm so proud, like a father who sees his son take off on the bike for the first time. Like, you got it. Go ahead, Big Hurt. Give me your last pretender.
He's just saving time for me. That's all. Let's just see. I think at the end of the day, my last pretender, and it kills me to say this because I know this guy. I met him in person. I love the dude. He's such a cool, genuine dude, and he's got his team. And it's Shock's fan with the Chiefs. I want to see him succeed. I want him to come over and literally come over that hump and get into the playoffs and then make a deep run. He's got his team. He's excited and all that. But the problem is I look at now Logan's in that division, and on top of that, he's got 318 points allowed to 283 points for. That's 30 plus point differential, and then you're looking at an AFC, basically roadmap. You got the Jets, you've got the Titans, you've got the Ravens, you've got the Bills, you've got all these teams, and the majority of those teams can put up 30 plus points at any given point. The Chiefs have the offensive power to keep up, but when it comes down to it, we know defense wins championships, and you have to be able to get that stop to get that win in the playoffs. And I just don't know that the Chiefs have that or have shown that to get that key stop and get them over the hump. So I'm going to call the Chiefs my second pretender.
NFC, we got the Cowboys at 10-1. They are not allowed to be any of your contender, not letting you do it. 49ers at 8-2, Seahawks at 8-4, Cardinals at 8-5, and then it gets murky like the Mississippi. Falcons at 7-5, Vikings at 7-5, Lions at 7-5, Giants at 6-5, Bears at 7-6, Packers at 6-6, Panthers at 6-6, and then it gets to the rest of us who just don't need to be in the conversation. So lots of teams to choose from over here. Let's go contender, pretender again. We'll just bounce around like we have been. My number one contender, I'm taking them. I'm buying into the hype. Give me the Arizona Cardinals. Now I have a little bit of a pause because my guy didn't take his extra point when he should have to go ahead and tie a game and go into overtime. That makes me question him a little bit. We know his offense can put up a ton of points. He stole one there against Seattle a couple of weeks ago. He's got a couple of big games coming up, but at 8-5, he is contending, and I think he will make the playoffs as a wild card team. He will be right there. He is my first contender. Maniac, give me your first contender.
Let's see. I'm going to go with the Vikings, the NFC North. I know Tim's always, putting out there that the Lions are the king of the North, but I think the Vikings have started showing and putting things together, and I think he's definitely going to getting to the playoffs from that division. It's gonna be a tight race. I mean, because obviously you got three guys there: Bears, Vikings, Lions, all the same. Basically the same.
Oh my!
Oh, oh my! But yeah, so give me the Vikings. So I think Big Hurt's definitely turned a corner in getting things done over there in the north.
I absolutely agree with you. Big Hurt, give me your first contender.
I'm going to give my first contender is going to be the Carolina Panthers. I just got done playing Bird. Man, I tell you what, this dude, like, quietly was just an absolute headache for me to stop. I will say that Nick Sims, my X Factor young linebacker, was out, and he's out for a couple weeks. So it did cause me some issues in stopping the run game. But I think even if he was there, like, Jonathan Brooks, man, that dude just runs the ball so efficiently and so well. And Bird's so, like, mischievous and just, like, making the right cuts at the right time, following his blocks and doing all that stuff. But then he, like, mixes in these, like, passing plays with Leggett and all these other players. And it's just like, you literally have to sit there and think, like, what is he going to do? And it's, like, kind of like chess. He leaves all these options out there. And I think the reason that he's got 6 losses is just because of maybe a little bit of a roster standpoint, and he's had such a kind of a tougher schedule. But I think at the end, when the dust settles after the entire season's played, I think the Panthers are my contender to win the South. I just think the Falcons are up and down, and I think the Panthers are going to pull it out, and that's why they're going to be my contender to get in the playoffs.
My second contender could be so many teams. Like, there's so many really good teams. The one I really want to pick is pretty frustrated right now. And the frustration that he has is keeping me from picking them. I'm going the opposite. I'm going the Atlanta Falcons. He's sitting at 7-5. He has started to figure out some things there on offense, but it really is his defense. He's a lot like the Seahawks, where he calls plays that trick you into really bad throws. He'll show you one thing, do it completely different. He also, and I learned that, again, they're very similar in what Meek and what Fleury do. They will very quickly set their defensive line to do that, like, quick snap and get off the ball quick and try to get some early sacks. So you better, fake snapping from time to time. You get him 2 or 3 times on that, he'll turn it off, but then you got to check him every now and then to make sure he still has it off. But the Falcons and Fleury have figured some things out. Maniac left him a really good team. I'm sorry, not Maniac. You guys flip-flopped on me. Maniac did leave a good team, but Big Hurt left him a really good team. Still wondering if the quarterback can play great into the playoffs. Against me, the guy was unstoppable, Hall of Famer, but he's got a lot of weapons, plays a really great defense. Falcons are going to be a contender for me. Maniac, take it away for your second contender.
My second contender, I'm going to go with the Cardinals as well. I started to go with them as my first, but I just definitely think the Cardinals have definitely put some stuff together. He plays really well offensively, and I think this one game that he showed that we talked about and stuff, his defense played really well in that game. He had 2 pick sixes that actually ultimately won that game for him. So I think he has the ability to play good defense. But if they can shut down, giving up so many points and stuff, I think that's just going to make him so much more deadly. But definitely the Cardinals are going to be there in that contender.
Like a second contender team, I want to say, and it's kind of like you said, you can't pick the Cowboys. I feel like it's the same thing picking the Niners, but like points allowed, he's at 174 points, which is absolutely insane, being 11 games in. So I'm not going to pick the Niners, even though that's who I want to pick. And I'm going to jump down, and I am going to take the Giants as my contender. I think Bill is frustrated, but I also think part of the frustration is he's getting everybody's best shot. He went to the OMFL Bowl last year, and so it's not like you can kind of fly under the radar and get everybody's like, I'm just playing the Giants. No, you're playing the team that went to the OMFL Bowl, represented the NFC. He made a name for himself by beating the two kings and the two, Goliaths of the NFC in last year's playoff run to get to the OMFL Bowl, and then faced Kobe and gave Kobe a pretty good game. So I think part of that is he's getting everybody's best shot, and things aren't just playing maybe as well for him in certain scenarios. And so I think that's frustration. But we all know that the Giants are a very good defensive team. He's only allowed 221 points. And like I said earlier, when it comes to playoffs, defense is where it gets you wins. So if he can get in the playoffs, which I think he can definitely get a playoff wild card spot, I'm going to call the Giants as my second contender, just based on his defense and who Bill is.
Yeah, they were the team that I did not pick, just because of his frustration level. Let's go pretenders now. And boy, we left a lot of teams still on the table, but I'm going to go ahead and pick one that's already been picked. I hate to do it, but I got to pick my guy, Bird, in the Panthers. My guy was so frustrated last night. You could hear it in his voice. He was not happy after dropping that game to Big Hurt. He logged into the shooter chat. He was like, "Oh, y'all full. I'm going to bed." We're like, "No, hang on. Nope, I'm going to bed." And I was like, "Okay, my guy must have lost." Logged in, looked at the score, seen that he had lost. So it happens to all of us. I'm a 2-win team, so I feel you. I get it. The Panthers are just missing a secret sauce here. I don't know what it is. It's very hard for me to pinpoint because, like you said, Bird is, I think, one of the most frustrating players to play because it is that chess match. He does everything well. He's one of those guys that you feel like he's sitting next to you looking at what plays you're picking. You're like, how? How did he know to call that blitz at that time on that play? How did he know to make that cut on, like, how does he freaking do it? But he's just missing something. And I think confidence goes so far in this league. Like, you can feel it whenever you step into round one, quarter one, play one, drive one of a confident player. They're just clicking. They're snapping on all kind of play calls. Every adjustment they make is the right one. And Bird is definitely missing that confidence. And that's what's making me think that he's going to be a pretender this year unless he finds that confidence and turns it on. Mr. Maniac, give me your first pretender.
I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions, 7-5. I know they're still in the hunt for the division, but he has definitely been struggling, I think, on defense a little bit more this season. And unfortunately, he's got like a really, really great team over there with the Lions. I know he's had to make a few cuts here and there and stuff, but I just think that it's just going to be too much for him to overcome as the season progresses, and I just think that he's going to be a pretender when it comes to playoff time.
My first pretender is I'm going to call out Priest, and I think Priest is a guy that I was worried when he jumped out to be 6-0. I was like, oh, he's playing very, balanced football. He's figured it out. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, we've been here, we've done this. He started off like 6-7-0 and then finished like 7-9 or whatever it was. I don't even remember, but something crazy. And I was just like, that was an epic fail, like compared to what it is. And I feel bad because like Priest, has very good intentions, and I've had a lot of conversations with him. But I just think that for me, the 2 times I played him, I kind of was like anticipating what he was going to do, and he did it. And then it was like, okay. And then obviously losing your quarterback and early in that second game didn't help either. But I just think kind of the same thing what you just said with Bird. There's a sense of confidence, and when he was 6-0, he was riding the confidence, and then all of a sudden the ability, gate, whatever you want to call it, Maniac, that like just took a little bit of confidence away, and then he loses game 1, and now it's just like that confidence went from like 95% down to like 5%, and then he's struggled to get any confidence back, and now he's in a high pressure situation, and the confidence isn't there, and so I just think that that's where the pretender comes in for me. And I just think the pressure is going to force him to fold.
We're shock podcasting tonight. I'm taking the 49ers as my second pretender. I don't know. It's a gut feeling that I have. They're just, when I think pretender, I'm thinking guys that have a legitimate chance to win the bowl. Now, as long as he's breathing and has two opposable thumbs, D-Money is going to have a chance to win the bowl. But just something in my gut tells me that he ain't feeling it. And I don't know if it's life. I don't know if it's baby. I don't know if it's a combination. I'm just being bored of beating up on these guys every single season and every single cycle. But either way, I think the 49ers are a pretender. Don't have a reason why. Very impressive defensive stats. I just think we're going to get to the playoffs. Somebody's going to, smack him around. He's going to get a tough loss by like 4, 5, 6. And we're going to be like, how'd that happen? I can't believe that happened. That's what happened last season. And we seen, he won his first one. And now he takes the rest of the cycle off. We've seen him kind of do that, and that's why he's going to be my second pretender. We got to hurry up and wrap this up since he's in the chat. Like, I'm going to sleep. Hurry it up. Maniac, give me your second pretender.
I'm going with the Seahawks. I think that what you've talked about, the struggles, and guys, don't get mad at me. I picked myself to be a pretender too. So, so what's good for the goose is good for the gander, I guess, or what's good for the gander is good for the goose. But anyway, however that goes. But I just think that the struggle is there mentally, and either if it's all Madden or whatever the thing is, it's there, and it's a real thing that's a block to get over, and I just don't think the Seahawks are going to be able to get over that hump.
My second pretender is a team that you guys just took as contenders, and that's the Cardinals. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said they're a contender. But I think how things have played out, especially going 4-2 in a game where he could have just kicked the extra point, those are decisions that you have to make to put yourself in a position to win that ball game, knowing that you have to give yourself a chance. I think part of his decision is that he's given up 344 points allowed, and so he's probably like, you know what, I'm going to trust my offense. I'm going to go for 2 and get the win. But at the same time, extend the game. Nate, you've been in a couple of overtime games this year, and you know how crazy it is. Even if you don't get the ball and a field goal, you can still go down and get that touchdown and win the game. I just think that the Cardinals should have kicked the extra point, and I think those are as wide open as the NFC West is this year. This is his chance, and I think he's like trying to force it rather than just letting it play out in his favor, and play football the way he is or the way he can, and it would be his division this year, I think. But I think he's pushing too much and trying to force the issue because the opportunity's there, and I think that's where, again, kind of like Priest, you're trying to force things, and with the pressure, it's just going to force him to collapse.
Yep. It's kind of hard to argue that. Let's see how many of these mailbag questions we can get through as quick as we can. Clearly, Fentanyl has made its way up to Detroit because Tim says, who wins the best division in the OMFL? The NFC North. Now, I love you, but I'm a little confused by that best division in the OMFL conversation you got going there. Right now we have, see if we can get over here and show it. Right now we have Minnesota at 7-5, Detroit at 7-5, Chicago at 7-6, Green Bay at 6-6. Quickly tell me who wins it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now it's the Vikings. And even though Chicago's finding some heat going, Tim, I don't know what's happened. He's sort of all over the place. And yeah, ever since we made him change his don't throw interception trait, he has lost 6 games in a row. So Priest, I think, is out of it.
I'm just going to go. That's who's going to
win. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say the NFC North is the best division. I think it's a competitive division, but I mean, I think what comes down to who wins the North is going to be really how these next couple games. I just said, myself, I've got the Saints and a couple other teams coming up. The Bears did beat me twice, so if it comes down to a tie, the Bears got the nod to get in. So that's why I said these pivotal games against the Saints and a few other teams are huge for me, because the Bears are right on my tail. I have 2 wins against the Lions and the Packers, so I don't really feel as much of a threat in that aspect.
My guy said, I don't know, and then talked for 5 minutes about the NFC North. Do multiple teams make it from the North? No. Y'all be lucky to get one team in. I mean, that's only by rule's sake.
Yeah, I was thinking to say they're battling against the NFC West that also has 3 guys that are like 8-win teams, and I just don't think it's going to happen. You might get 2 from the North, and that would probably, my pick would be probably the Vikings and the Bears, but that's going to be like a big if.
I don't think we get 2 teams. If we did, it would definitely be the Vikings and the Bears, in my opinion. But again, I think it just comes down to how these last couple of weeks play out between me and the Vikings, or me and the Bears, because the Bears did get me twice in the regular season. I wouldn't say that it's only by rule that we get in, but yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
I got to give you all a little hard time. Listen, you've turned those Vikings around way quicker than I think anyone would have ever assumed. The other teams, there's some weird things going on over there. They're still figuring some stuff out. And look, we went to All Madden. That's going to be a shift for a lot of teams. Mr. Bronco Man, see you in the chat. What's up, Mr. Randy? I've seen you guys speak out against All Madden, and some guys vouch for All Madden. Speaking of which, where do you land after 13 weeks of action? We sort of had this question last week, did we not? Hold on, let me look really fast. I guess
there always seems like there's always like some kind of like All Madden type question.
I always feel like there is. I could have swore that was a question at some point that we all talked about already. I was trying to see if I could find it really fast, and I can't. It's not jumping out on me at all. Anyway, I stand by what I swear, unless I dream that I'm having podcasts in my head now. But what I said last time, that is, the scores show you every week the games are competitive. Every week, you never know who's going to win. We've had some big time upsets. My team in particular, with a big upset against the Seahawks recently. And I think that sort of competitiveness is exactly what we want to see. We're seeing some new teams floating to the top. I also stand by what I said earlier. I think whether it's All Pro, All Madden, they're very similar in a lot of ways, and using slider tweaks, we can get them really, really close. I like All Madden. It would not bother me if we went back to All Pro. We're never going to get everybody happy. It's always going to be a 50-50 split. When we were on All Pro for 2 seasons, I was getting messages of, the sliders, this other league over here plays way better and we enjoy it way more. It's just, I hate those kind of like, that's not useful. What am I supposed to do with that? Anyway, we will have the conversation again after this season. Probably going to start it here really soon with the board and make a decision and either go back to All Pro to finish out the cycle or finish it out on All Madden. Either way, I think it's fine. Thoughts on All Madden?
I mean, it's got its perks and it's got its difficulties. I mean, it's the same thing with All Pro. It's got its perks and it's got difficulties. So just gotta roll with the punches, and hopefully you can figure it out. If not, just deal with it. And unfortunately, I like I said, my team, the last few seasons, I was able to run the ball. And my offense was pretty decent. I have sucked at offense on All Madden. And yeah, it does get frustrating, but I just keep going after it and trying to figure it out, and just keep doing the best I can, and try to get better at it, I guess. And that's the outlook you have to look at, I think.
I think there's pros and cons of both, and it just depends on which cons and pros mean more to you, is how you're going to feel about it. And ultimately, I initially was really against All Madden until I put a little bit of time, just got comfortable with it. And that's why I said I think guys who aren't against it just haven't played it enough. And it would be the same if we were sitting on All Madden going to All Pro. It's too easy or whatever. But bottom line is, for me, I look at the statistics, and we don't have outrageous interception numbers, which I thought we would, because guys would be throwing in tight windows. Our DBs are reacting. It's playing well in that aspect. And then rushing the ball. I'm struggling running the ball, and I've tried 16 different running backs this year, it feels like. But, I mean, there's really 2, 3, 4 the end of the day, for me, all Madden is kind of where I would lean towards at this point for parity purposes.
I don't know what's happening with my computer right now, but it's giving me a little trouble. You guys got to let me know in the chat. It's saying that it's giving me trouble. If it looks gross on your end, I can make some changes, but something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong, and I can't really mess with it a whole lot. Caveman says, what are your thoughts on no switching style? That was in the chat. Caveman, do you play here? You just checking us out? Either way, Caveman, I think I like no switch. I think it adds in a whole nother layer of strategy and gameplay that the very arcadey style of Madden removes. And every time I approach the subject with the board about bringing back switch, everybody is like, we really like no switch. It's one of those things where I thought I was going to hate it. And now that we do it, I really, really like it. I'd also be fine if we ever went back to like Maniac's rule that he does in the deuce. We can switch one time. Anyway, all over the place. Oh, that's right, Caveman. I think I remember you now. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Cincy. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we need to land the ship. Poor Cincy's falling asleep. Logan, we're going to hold on to yours for next week. Little Koch says, do you believe in the Madden curse? Yes, I do. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All three of us. What do you think is the most important stat is on a QB? That's from Mr. Nice Songer. I think it's throwing power all day long.
I would second that.
I would say throw under pressure for me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think like Joe Burrow's kind of a testament. The throw power is not the greatest, but he can still make the throws. I think throw under pressure is probably the one for me.
That's a really good one. I like that one. Bill says, does the NFC conference winner for season 113 come from the NFC East first? A third consecutive season. I think that got wonky on you, but I think he's asking, does the NFC conference champion come from the NFC East? Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think instead of first, I think he meant for a third consecutive season.
There you go. I would say yes.
Yeah, I would go with that.
Cowboys are playing good
hard
football
to go
here.
against the Cowboys. Yeah, it's hard to go against Cowboys at this point.
Somebody could get hot. We've seen that several different times. My time that I made a run, that was a team no one expected. Last year, Bill and his Giants, I would not put it past Hurt to go on a run. I would not put it, if Colin can sneak in there, Bird can get hot. Like any weird thing can happen, but this isn't a weird thing. It's like, what do you think will happen? And I think NFC East is definitely one. Little Koch, we're going to save yours for your prediction of rookie and offense and defensive rookie of the year. Mr. Wayne says, what do you think? Try this again. What do you tell a coach who's having a rough season or cycle? I tell him to quit and never play this game. Watching your game versus Meek is a perfect example of a team not tanking, playing to win games, even when playoff chances are slim. My playoff chances are not slim. My playoff chances have been cannibalized after week number 2. They are as dead can be. But there's no way I'm wasting an hour and a half of my day, 17 weeks in a row to tank. I'm just not going to do that. Now, if I've got young players that it's just smart to start them guys, and if you don't win, you don't win, fine. But I don't have those right now. I'm starting all my young players. So yeah, what do you guys tell a coach who's having a rough season or cycle? That's been me for 3 cycles, so I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, just stick with it, and eventually, you're either going to figure it out or it's just sometimes it falls underneath that category. This is just not my Madden. I can't figure it out, and I'll try again next Madden. But just to keep going, playing your games and be competitive the best you can. But if I will say, disclaimer, if I'm like playing my last game and I'm 1 win away from losing the first draft pick overall, I'm taking that game. I'm just coming out and saying it right now. I'm not playing to win that game.
I think I played you the year I got the number 1 pick, and I had you on the ropes, and I should have beat your butt in week number 18, and you somehow pulled that one off. And I was trying everything to try to lose that game, and I almost ended up winning that stupid thing.
I would honestly, I mean, kind of like what you just said, like I'm not wasting an hour and a half. I'm way too competitive. I think we all grew up playing sports, and like if you're playing sports at any type of competitive level, you're not going to just jump in a game and be like, yeah, I'm going to just let this go and, do it over and over and over and over again. Like it's just not possible for me. And that's just speaking for my turn. So I would tell somebody if they're struggling, like, try a different playbook, try different timing routes, try different styles of runs, whether it's a power or like a zone read or whatever, and just see what works. Not that you're running the wrong thing, but maybe your team's not built for that style, and then try and figure out what's working so you go into that off season and build that team with that style and intention in mind. Or see maybe like maybe a Weatherspoon running back is the guy that you want to put the future in, and then you don't have to worry about that in the free agency or the draft. So I think those are a lot of things that you can do as a team that's struggling to get by. But I just think at the end of the day, competitiveness to me is not one that I'm just gonna be like, yep, I'm gonna let it just ride out and lose and be okay with it.
Caveman, I also love our friends from OCW. Their owner has been kind to me since day one when he didn't need to be, didn't have to be. Super cool place to play. Influenced what we did for a little bit here. I wish we still did ours. It was just a ton of fun. I wish I could play there, but I'm soft like baby poop, and that is a tough place. You got to take your lumps there. That is a locker room mentality. You got to be able to eat poop for a long time and earn your spot, and I'm way too soft. So I celebrate our friends over the OCW, and I hope you're doing good, and I appreciate you popping in the chat. Come hang out sometime. Big Hurt with 2 back-to-back questions. You're building a team to compete in the A Madden cycle. Come on, Hurt. Gotta help me out here. You're building a team to compete in the Madden cycle here in the OMFL. Do you get the elite quarterback, running back, or receiver? 100%, 100 out of 100 quarterback all day, every day. You gotta. Very few guys can win. I'm talking the top 1% can win with no quarterback in this league. Maniac fell asleep.
I would just say the only reason he might have. The only reason I mistyped that was you told me I was filling in for D-Wayne. I got my drinks ready and I typed that question out, and you see what happens. So for me, I kind of always was a believer of quarterback, but then I kind of changed my mentality recently, and I would go with the elite receiver. I think that elite receiver just gives you a sense of confidence and of being able to throw all the routes and having kind of that security blanket to go to in certain situations. And I think the guys like Cincy is a prime example. He goes and gets Lowry, and he can build a quarterback that's younger. He did it with Desmond Ridder, I think with the Colts team a couple years ago, and could build that quarterback into a really good, elite quarterback. So I think the elite receivers, for me, is harder to get than building with an average quarterback that can make those throws, and it's you pushing the button, making the read. It's the receiver that, because I'm not controlling the receiver, has to get that separation and get off that press and stuff.
I'm going with the elite quarterback. I just think, like, I've played from different spectrums. Yeah, I have said too sometimes, like, I'm just going to trade this guy because I can't.
Something
can't
about
get the
your
ball,
use of the word spectrum right there that tickled me. I am definitely on the Madden spectrum, y'all.
But I mean, I will admit it is different with having like Josh Allen that can make every deep throw and every short throw quickly and get it out of his hand quick, and a lot of those makes a difference. But I mean, right on the skirt tail of that is like you got to have a good wide receiver too, or a group of wide receivers that can get open for you. But if you got a guy that can get wide open and you can't get the ball to him because he just lacks the arm strength or under pressure rating or whatever, and just sucks, then you're going to be in for a long haul too with that. So, but yeah, give me quarterback, wide receiver, and then I don't even think running back even fits in that category.
I think I'm accidentally skipped one, so I'm going to go back one with Trace. Given that I'm one of those, again, what do you think is the biggest problem for a user taking over a team mid-cycle? Basically, what prevents guys from taking over a team mid-cycle and competing right away? To me, it is a team that just doesn't fit your cycle. Like, everybody plays a little bit different. Everybody you can see even here in these discussions, puts their intentionality in very specific spots. And if a guy, like, again, wanted to build a great running back and fast linebackers, and you're more of a stud running offensive line and a run stopping defensive line, it's not going to match up. And so I think it's just tough to step in and take over a team that isn't set up for you to win with, because it isn't your team.
Yeah, I think too that you look at it. I mean, because a lot of times, a lot of situations, it's either the team's been decimated through trades, and not so much like completely torn apart, because we do have a trade committee to try to keep that from happening. But they will trade some guys away, get draft capital, but then you're kind of stuck with either one, it's that situation, or two, the team is in cap hell, and so then you got to scrape the bottom and start over. And that, to me, like, I mean, if it's in cap straits, and you take over a team in mid cycle, you're pretty much, you're not going to see much of the light of day for the rest of that cycle.
I would say it depends on what team and what division you're coming into. Trey's situation coming into like D Wayne's division, it's just, I mean, you're coming in, you're trying to rebuild your team, but you're also competing with the top dog in the league right now. But if you're coming into like a situation where, Crazy B-Man came in, he's got a pretty deep division as well, with the Niners, the Hawks, and the Cardinals. So it really kind of just depends on that situation. But I would say at the end of the day, really playing style is the biggest thing. And then figuring out like those Madden draft class rookies that you have, like, you don't know anything about them. They could be a, 6-foot receiver with speed, but does that guy play like you envision him? We all draft people and we're like, oh, this dude's going to be a beast, and then he flops, or you get a defensive end that you think is just going to be a great pass rusher, and he's not that at all. So I think at the end of the day, it's kind of figuring out what you have, and it takes 4, 5, 6 games for you to really kind of figure out and see what he does week to week, for me to know like how that team's going to play.
Big Hurt says, and then for defense, do you go elite defensive line, linebacker, or DB? My heart wants to say defensive line. I think stats back up DB in this league.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking DB, because if you got a guy that can cover the short intermediate routes, that gives your mediocre to mid D-line a chance to get to the backfield and get after the quarterback. Whereas, like, if you have a guy on the defensive line that can get in the backfield really quick, but you got nobody that can cover on the sides, these guys got wide receivers. They'll get open. They'll shoot drag slants and curls and whatever short route they can get, and they'll make you pay for it. So
until I had Dylan Marshall, I would have said elite linebacker, but having Dylan Marshall has completely changed my mind, and that's kind of what prompted this question. I would say elite DB all day, just because that dude takes away a receiver. I've played Maniac with Shepard, and he literally just took away an entire receiver off the map. And so I would say defensive back for me this season, playing with Dylan Marshall 1000% is the way to go. Linebacker for me would be second, and D-line would actually be third. And that also is on All Madden. If we go to All Pro, that could change a little bit, but I just think the way the DBs react on All Madden, if you get an elite DB and then you have that All Madden reaction time, like, that's just it. I mean, you can throw hitch routes, go routes, whatever, and that dude shuts it down.
I mean, we're seeing the 49ers do it, right? It's 175 points against him this season. It's just crazy record style numbers. I'd also say defensive tackle, it's not consistent and hasn't been in a couple of cycles, but the Panthers are a great example for me. Playing the Giants this year, he held me to 3 points because his defensive tackles in the backfield every play, every run play, every play action, every pass play. Like it's so hard when you get that pressure right up the middle.
Bill's another one. Bill has a great front seven, 2 great defensive line, made a run of the bowl game. I just got done playing the Panthers. He has 2 stud linebackers, 2 crazy defensive linemen. But at the same time, I was still able to get the ball out and feed Justin Jefferson 12 times. Bateman got 8 catches, and that was 20 of my 22 completions to 2 receivers. You put an elite DB and takes one of those guys out of the game, it could be a completely different game.
Yep, I agree with you. All right, last one, and then old man's got to get himself to bed. Poor Cincy, he's got to hurry up. That makes it hurt. Stop talking. I want to play the Bills. I'm not going to hang out. As soon as I log off, I'm logging. I got to get bed. I got to get up early in the morning and go into the office. But Bronco Man with the last question. We're going to hold on to your third question. So we got 1, 2, 3 questions. We'll hold on until next week. But Randy says, what quarterback prototype do you have most success with? Accuracy, pocket passer, scrambler with accuracy issues, big arm, big guy, other. For me, and I haven't had this in 3, 4, 5 cycles. I've tried to find this, but my perfect quarterback is like the Miami Dolphins Duke. Like I want a guy that's got a big arm, but can also scramble when needed to. When you play the Dwaynes of the world, Dwayne doesn't do it a ton, but Dwayne will do it like right at the right time. Maniac, I think, does it really, really well, but you play zone. You got everybody covered up, big third down, quarterback right up the middle for 25, and you're like, it just is a punch to the gut. My only championship win here, which I've got no record for because there's no stream way back then, it was Justin TV, and I don't have the Justin stuff anymore. They don't hold on to things anyway, but it was when I had, I'm drawing a blank. What's the Texas A&M guy that went to play for the Browns? Oh, crap.
Manziel.
I had Johnny Manziel. That's back when you could import players from NCAA, like way back in the day or whatever. And we had a Johnny Manziel draft. I drafted Johnny last Madden season of 2007, 8, I don't know, 9. It was somewhere in there. Won it. And it was because I could do RPOs. I'm not RPOs. Didn't have those back then, but you could do option plays. He had a big arm. I love a guy that's got a big arm that can get it downfield, but also can run it. That to me is my prototypical. I've not had that. I've had the prototypical just pocket passer with the big arm. So I got to minimum have the guy with the big arm, but I like a guy with some speed. What about you guys?
I like the improviser. It's kind of the mixture, I think, between a good accuracy quarterback and a quarterback that can scramble. Normally, when those guys are the improviser, they have those traits, and I think Allen, that's like second on his trait because his arm is so big, so he's strong arm quarterback. But the improviser traits and stuff, I think, are really important for the scrambling ability and able just to move within the pocket, get away from pass rush.
How big an arm is it?
Oh, it's about like
bigger than average.
3 foot. It's 3 foot long.
It's hurt. Save us.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna go with just naming a few guys like model builds. I guess JJ McCarthy. I'm really enjoying just because he does have the the escape speed to kind of scramble. Dak Prescott. Mahomes. Those guys that have that decent speed, but not like the Lamar Jacksons. Because I feel like if I get a Lamar Jackson, I just am too quick to be like, okay, screw it, I'm going to run. But if I have a guy that's like where I'm under pressure and I can just scramble and pick up that 5-10 yards and just keep that as a threat, but really be more of like an efficient passer. It doesn't have to have the Josh Allen type of arm. I mean, it would be nice, but like, just that be able to make the throws. Because I do like even Joe Burrow has enough speed for me, like, and doesn't have the crazy arm. It's just kind of having the balance of the two would be the thing for me.
I had Vic in 07. I had the Falcons for that cycle or whatever. So much fun. It was by far the fun. Like that was back when Vic was a cheat code and whatever Madden that was. I still love a guy that can scramble and get it done. Even though our rules keep that, pretty contained, it's still a lot of fun. All right, let's do one final thought, and one is let's try to keep Cincyberg, awake and alive for the next hour and a half. Give me a final thought, Mr. Maniac.
Go to sleep, Cincy. Go to sleep as we're playing our game. Go to sleep. No.
Not as you're playing. That's the worst. Right after.
He's probably gonna hang 40 on me now. So, but yeah, it's been a great show. Great talking, like all the questions and stuff. I've got to be better at being so long-winded, man. Especially on those breakdowns. I'm trying, guys.
Hurt, give me one final thought.
For me, just go enjoy that game. Obviously, I'm going to stay up and watch it. Many of you may not. I'm going to go refill my drink. Dwayne, cheers. And let's get these games in and get to the playoffs. I'm looking forward to it.
One final thought. I've said this on my stream. We're still real zone heavy in this league. And even though it's within the rules, I wish I played more guys that I've seen so much zone this season. Like when my wife gets home, I feel like I'm looking for a gap to get to the kitchen. It's just like I'm next year I'm going to record the numbers because I do write them down during my games. I watch my numbers and the others' numbers. I'll look for trends just so that you know. But I usually throw those away. I'm going to start holding on to those. And I think I'm going to compile just a little scientific study on my own. So outside of that, everybody's doing good. I get it. Some guys absolutely hate all Madden, but for every guy that hates all Madden, there's guys that absolutely hate all pro. It is what it is. We're doing our best. I think you can't argue with the results, which is we got some really competitive games. A blowout is shocking in this league. Whereas with All Pro, we've probably seen a few more blowouts. All right, I'm going to bed. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. Thank you for hanging out with us for an hour and a half plus hour and 45-minute show tonight. Woo! I can't get these two together. You put these two together right here, it is game over. Like we're here for a minute. Pour yourself a drink, fix some supper, put on something on the TV to keep yourself awake. We're going to be here a while. Guys, I love you. I got to get out of here. Bye.
Deuces.
Smash that like and subscribe.